How's it going, everyone? Session here. Welcome to Dead by Daylight. We officially have ourselves the 2024 roadmap. Now, looking at some of these changes and tweaks that are coming into the game, there's a lot of questions that people have. There's a lot of things that people might be raising their eyebrows in, and there are some confusing things that really don't exactly make sense, and some things do make sense. So we'll tackle this and we'll try to go about it together. So, starting with January and March, the first thing that they're going to be implementing, it looks like, at least in order, is the quality of life for an FOV slider, which is incredible, actually, because I feel like DVD is a game that, since there are perks that naturally just have FOV sliders in them, to kind of add that as like a layer to the game base kit wise would be incredible because, I just feel like I don't know the concept of using an FOV slider beyond what it is, and the fact that it's something that is limited by perks, to me that's kind of bizarre, right? So I actually would be okay with them just making a slider for anybody to use, killer or survivor, and then just having that work the way that it does. Because playing this game in first person is a little bit odd. Third person has been the way it's been, but just having that slider would be really cool. So, which kind of coerces into some of the updates that we're seeing for the killers and for the perks, because like Shadowborn and Monitor Abuse are two perks that specifically affect the FOV slider perspective. Like Shadowborn is literally just an FOV slider that you naturally incorporate into the game, just as it is. And it's interesting because the more that the perk increases, right, the wider it gets, which for some people maybe it's too wide. So removing that perk in its entirety just makes sense, right? So what this means is that with Shadowborn, they're going to completely rework the perk in its entirety, because literally Shadowborn is just an FOV slider. So if they're making it basically into the game, they're going to just take out the details for that perk and then turn it into something entirely different. So we'll see. Monitor and Abuse is similar. The perk itself of Monitor and Abuse is fine, where like the terror radius increases in chase, and then when it doesn't increase, or when the killer isn't chasing anybody, it decreases. That's fine. But Monitor and Abuse does have an FOV slider uh, involved, like where the game widens the field of view when you are not in chase, and then it resumes it zooms in more when you are in chase. So again, same thing, because the FOV slider is a quality of life that they're adding into the game just naturally. Them just taking that out makes total sense. So we'll see kind of what that puts into perspective for that. Now, I think one of the most confusing things, but also most interesting things that they've listed here, is a solution for a 3 gen. Now, I don't know what that means, because they can do anything about that. Um, 3 genning is honestly a very tough topic of conversation. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people just use it to its advantage. As a solo survivor player, I definitely don't like the idea of a 3 gen. I'm glad that perks exist that kind of allow you to understand perks that are or the generators that are like together. Like I like using deja vu because it lets me know 3 generators are too close together. And then obviously I look at the three, figure what the map is, and I'm like, okay, cool. I have to work on that one because I know for a fact that, it'll separate the most space between the generators that are on the map that are remaining, which is great. But it still doesn't count for the other players that are working on generators on other parts of the map, and on top of that it doesn't still resolve 3 gens. So what the solution would be, sort of thing, is very interesting. I don't know exactly what that'll be incorporating exactly, um because you can kind of go a lot beyond. So um you can either have there be a fourth generator somewhere else, which would be crazy actually. You could have, if there is a 3 gen scenario, one of them may power on, but then another one across the map powers on, or powers off rather. That way they're forcibly separated. That would be interesting. It would be, I actually wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that'd be fine too. Um, just because again, like 3 genning is the reason why like the survivor win rate is extremely low in comparison to the killers. Honestly, because like killers that know how to deliberately set up a 3 gen using it as a tactic just makes the game that much more difficult to actually deal with on a in that perspective. I personally try to avoid it as much as possible, because I feel like once the killer has successfully 3 gened, then that's a GG scenario and the killer automatically wins. The same thing kind of applies in the case that the killer kills early, right? So, but that we'll talk about later on. Um, So either way, we'll see. I mean, I don't exactly know what to expect with this, but whatever the solution will be for the 3-10 scenario, I'm really hoping that they look into it and they come up with like a reasonable idea that doesn't necessarily lean it in the survivor's favor, but it does give the survivors a chance of being able to effectively address it and, you know, bring that win rate just that much closer to 50%, if you will. So we'll see. Now, with killer updates, we got Onryo Hillbilly and some Blight add ons for January through March. Now, with Onryo, Onryo's interesting. She was apparently not a good killer. Then they reworked her, and then apparently from the base in the lower level like portion of the game competitively, because DBZ is competitive. Um, Ario is a nightmare to deal with, right? People who don't know how to deal with the tapes, they get killed by her without even getting hooked, and it's really obnoxious. But if you figure out how to deal with her, then she's actually really easy to deal with, and actually, not that much of an issue. Apparently, she's gotten worse as a result. I disagree, but there are still small caveats about her that I don't really enjoy, such as the fact that if I need to hold a tape in my hands, then I can't use my item. I don't understand why. If I'm working on a generator and I bring a toolbox, I can't use the toolbox when I'm holding a tape in my hands. To me that just logically makes no sense. Same thing with a medkit. If I have a medkit, um, I can't heal myself or my teammates. I have to just kind of hold on to this medkit forever. And some Onryos, for some strange reason, have to bring Franklin's demise, which I just think that's just so weird to me. Um, but there is that too. So we'll see. I think people don't like dealing with the Onryo Mori death without even getting a hook because it promotes the idea that she doesn't really go for the hook at all. She just has to go for the condemned kill because it's way easier for her to do that than for her to try to actually get hooks on people and then just figure it out. It's a tactic, but it's a weird one that. So we'll see. Hillbilly, I don't really know what they're gonna update about him. I know that he's not the strongest killer, but he's also not like the weakest. Personally for me, I like for them to just keep that add-on that he has where he's undetectable while he's using the chainsaw. That's really cool because truth be told, it's pretty scary actually to hear um nothing and then you see a guy sprinting at you. I don't know, that it just kind of like ugh, basically. But in terms of actually like updating him though, I don't know what they might do with him. We'll see. I can't really think too much about it. Blight, honestly, I don't know. Blight is one of those killers that if I see, I'm already nervous because it's hard to deal with a Blight in the game. I think he's currently like the best killer, or at least like top two. Um, Dealing with him is really nightmarish. What the add-ons might entail though, I don't really know. Sometimes the add-ons are really strong. Um, Maybe it's because of a build situation, like a combination of perks and add-ons with his add-on. With add-ons might be like very very strong. It makes it impossible, but it's kind of hard to see. So we'll figure it out. But we'll find out when that comes to the time. Now for the perk updates, we talked about Shadowborn and Monitor, but we have three more that we have to talk about, and I think that's a really interesting trio of perks to talk about. So, Save the Best for Last is honestly like the creme de la creme of perks right now that every killer is using, just because that recovery of the base hit attack um, is extremely fast. It allows for an immediate recovery follow up, and um, it's very, very strong just in a various number of ways. Personally, for me, what I don't like about it, at least, is that if you're using a killer who has mobility and or at least like a lunge of some sort, right? If the killer is going to start getting basic attacks off and then build that perk up, then they'll use the base hit, and then obviously you get that speed boost when you get attacked as a survivor, and then the killer has the recovery for that, which is insanely fast, and then as a result they get to use their actual ability to combo it. Now, the combo is, in theory, it's cool, but it's an annoyance because it doesn't really have the killer use their powers as intended, right? It just really makes it easy for the killer to get a hook and a down because of that combo potential. Um, so I feel like save might be a little bit strong. If anything, what I would incorporate is that you make it more punishing. If you can build it up, it gets strong, but if you make mistakes with it, then it gets weak. It kind of has like a caveat, like a drawback to it, because it's really easy to build that perk up very very quickly, considering that it's four people, and then it's just, well, you don't hit the session, but it's still, you can hit somebody, let them recover, hit them again, and now you have that perk at full power, right? It's really crazy. So we'll see. Grim Embrace is actually a very interesting perk, and honestly, one perk that I'm so surprised about that they put in this list. So with Grim Embrace, what it is if the killer hooks one person each on a hook, then all the generators are blocked for like 40 seconds, which is considered healthy gameplay. The problem, though, is that the community as a whole, in its entirety, no one thinks that this is a good idea of a perk to bring or use because it promotes healthy gameplay. Now, I think if I was playing killers in DBD, like I I would prioritize whatever it takes to let me win, right? Which is very simple. You pick one person, you put them on a hook, and you put them on a second hook without putting anybody else on the hook, and then you put them on the third hook and you kill them before the people get a chance to do a generator, right? Which is called tunneling, and that's really bad. Grim Embrace actually promotes that you don't tunnel, but the problem is that it's a bad perk to bring because it doesn't offer much in case you can't catch all four survivors. Because catching four people is very, very difficult. So they might buff it so that you just get four hooks and it does that, which is okay, but it still doesn't make it, easy to use because four hooks is still kind of tough depending on the scenario. What would be cool is if they made Grim Embrace base kit so that if you just naturally play the game with no perks, and if you hook each survivor, then all the generators get blocked. That would be very, very cool because it's at least going to promote a fair way to play the game as the killer. Because right now, tunneling and camping is highly discouraged, but people do it because it guarantees wins. And obviously, survivors are going to complain, but killers don't care because it lets them get the wins. And obviously, no killer likes to let people get away, sort of thing. So I think that if they can rework Grim Embrace and change it to an entirely different perk, and then make the current version of it base kit, I think that'd be awesome. And last, we have Quick Gambit, which is surprisingly a very undermined perk. In my opinion, it's not great. It's great in theory, but it's a huge mess in practice. Um, Basically, when if I'm being chased by the killer and I have the perk equipped, anybody within 24 meters of my person gets a repair speed. Now, the problem was that is that I need to forcibly have the killer chase me near a generator that people are working on, which is hard because you kind of have to uh, understand where people are, which gen is being repaired, and the killer has to want to chase me only and not just go for the generator, which I think is really like a huge pain. So it's hard to actually use Quick Gambit because um, you don't really give the killer a reason to keep chasing you over just kicking a generator. Because if the killer can hear the generator being repaired, then they will ignore the killer or the survivor in entirety, and they'll just go kick the gen. And then I feel like what Quick Gambit just needs to do is it needs to do two things. One, it should significantly, I would even say like triple the rate or the radius from was it 24. I make it like 72 meters, which sounds like a lot, but like it kind of has to be, right? Um and at the same time the perk is so the radius would increase to 72 meters is the first buff I would add, and secondly the aura of the person being chased can be seen by all the survivors, and then the but as a contact the aura will go away and the perk will deactivate in the case scenario that the person gets downed. um or even injured is kind of fine too, honestly, but like because again the problem is that you're bringing a perk that you have to rely on other people to use. So that's why I feel like buffing it like this is not that bad, because you have to, because like if people are not working on generators, then the perk is useless even if you have it equipped, right? The perk has to be useful while you have it equipped and people are actually working on the objective. But if people are not doing that, then it isn't that big of a deal actually. So I would even say just, until you get down, Quick Gambit is in effect, and for a very wide radius that it covers. And the repair speed, I think, is like 8%. I would just keep that there too. So there you go. Mangled for March and April is another status effect update that they're going to be getting. Now, honestly, I currently hate how Mangled is working. Sloppy Butcher is an extremely, extremely powerful perk, especially when you pair it up with other perks that regress or kind of make healing difficult, because just healing right now is the pain. When I play this game now as a sole survivor player, I only bring the healer build because I would say like 8 times out of 10, the survivors have to deal with Sloppy Butcher. And healing through Sloppy is insanely painful and it's really obnoxious because of the fact that the effect can apply to everyone and it's impossible for you to heal yourself with a medkit. You have to rely on somebody else to bring you back up to speed. And honestly, it's a really huge problem because it does give the killer a lot of value as a result because you can pair that with like nurses, and when you have everyone in a corner trying to heal each other, it gives the killer insane information to understand that like no one's doing generators, they're all in this corner healing. I can see them, and then therefore I can attack whichever one is injured, and then just get a free hit off of that, which is again huge problem. So mangled would be nice to have a nice nerf to, or at least give it some kind of counterplay because honestly, like if there was a way to counter it with a medkit, that'd be nice. But if there was a way to also even like heal yourself without having to worry about mangled that much, it'd be fine. Or even decreasing the numbers in which you know the healing rate is, that'd be fine too. They need to just nerf mangled a little bit because the other problem too is that not only is it because of Sloppy Butcher, it's mostly because there are a lot of killers who have add-ons in their power kit that let them apply mangled. That's the other issue. So you literally get your, because the hemorrhage is irrelevant. The being able to see more blood on the floor, nobody cares about that. It's only because of the mangled. So literally, um, the mangled is the problem because a lot of people on the killer side, they basically have Sloppy Butcher as a perk in an add-on, which is, or you can even use two add-ons and then create Sloppy Butcher, which basically turns into a fifth perk, which is already crazy enough as it is because um, none of the items that the survivors can use basically work as a fifth perk, right? Because they're all limited use. So it's really dangerous for the killer to basically have a fifth perk. You could even technically have a sixth perk if you really build it out correctly, if killers have mangled. So we'll see. Hopefully they nerf it to the ground to a degree. Or I mean, I'm only saying that because I've dealt with it for so long that I hate bringing a healer build just for one perk alone. It's a real nightmare. But we'll see. Killer tweaks. We got the Hag. I don't really know what they'll do to her. I feel like she's okay for now. She's still really strong, but she also is like hard to play. The only thing I could possibly think of is the wiping away of the trap with the hands thing. It used to be on the flashlight, and I kind of missed that. Uh, but I think it takes like 3 or 4 seconds to remove the dirt or the trap at least. I would make that shorter. That's just literally it. Pig is weird because she's a stronger killer when people have like bad RNG. She's such an RNG killer that it's hard to fight with her. Um, I also don't like that she's technically a stealth killer, but she's not stealthy. So we'll see. I don't know. Pig people have a really mixed opinion about Pig. I currently don't like her because of the fact that she's not scary. The power is fine. Add-ons are fine. The fact that she has like an announcement when she's making a lunge attack is kind of a pain, but I get it though because it kind of it makes it kind of hard to deal with. But we'll see. All right, well, Pig is a question mark in the air. Huntress is interesting because I feel like Huntress is definitely like a mixed bag of a coin toss. Literally, if you flip the coin and you get a good Huntress, then good luck avoiding the Huntress. If you get a not so good Huntress, then it's like, okay, cool, have fun. You like, it's kind of hard to figure out what to tweak with Huntress. Because Trickster isn't on this list, which means that it has nothing to do with the reload speed. It might have to do with the way that the either the hatchets work or something with her mobility while using a hatchet. We'll find out when we get there. Demogorgon, honestly, good question mark as well. I feel like everyone kind of doesn't care about Demogorgon, despite the fact that he came back with the with Stranger Things, which is incredible. But Xenomorph is just a much better Demogorgon at the moment because unlike Xenomorph, Demo has to break the pallet in order to attack the target that uses a pallet, whereas Xenomorph can just hit over it. Also, the teleportation thing with Xenomorph is really controlled and actually really well designed. I think Alien is like their best designed killer ever in the game, and Demogorgon is kind of like a little shadow in that regard because of the fact that they have a very similar power. So hopefully they change something with Demo to make him a little bit more cool. But he's still the Demogorgon though. We love him dearly, but still. Clown, honestly, I gotta be very honest. Clown is like a bottom 5 killer for me. Honestly, I hate dealing with the clown because The pinky finger add-on is really annoying. I dealt with this actually last week. There's the pinky finger add-on, and then there's like a purple add-on that increases the bottles, which gives the killer insane power to use the bottles and they get the exposed and the down, and it's just impossible to deal with. I don't really. It's like the killer is very underwhelming, but when the killer has that pinky finger, he's beyond overwhelming because he just has to slow you down until he gets the direct hit on you, and he'll spend as long as it takes to get the hit on you versus trying to get the injured. So I don't know what changes they'll make to Clown. I just currently don't like how Clown plays. No offense to anybody who's a Clown main, I don't like him. The slowing down thing is really annoying. The pinky finger thing is even more annoying. I understand that he's not that good of a killer in certain case scenarios, but like he's still a huge pain to deal with. So we'll see. And then Doctor, kind of sort of the same. I mean, I don't hate the Doctor. I don't love him though. He's okay if you just play against him normally. But he's really annoying when the Doctor uses add-ons that mess with your skill check stuff, and it makes it really hard to deal with because I hate dealing with like a monitor and abuse, chlorophobia, like Huntress Lullaby. Oh, and Merciless Storm. All that is just a nightmare to me. So I don't know. Doctor is kind of a pain, but I don't mind. He's fine. Uh, we talked about Sloppy Butcher. And last for April and June, we have a Blood Web improvements, which is very interesting. I don't exactly know what that means. Because when I think about the Blood Web, personally for me, if I could filter out items in the blood web that I don't ever want, I would love that, because in my personal mindset right now, I hate getting map offerings because I find them to be very useless as a survivor. I don't mind them as a killer, but I don't use them as a killer either. I just don't really I'm not really a fan of them. um like map offerings, I think they need to just look into removing map offerings in its entirety and then just do um map advantages, if you will. So like for example, if the killer brings a map advantage or map offering that leans it more in their favor, that would be better. And I mean, I would probably separate it, if you want to bring us to a certain map, then like sure, but I would make the map neutral for both survivors and killers. So you can have like a map offering, but then have like a map alteration, where you can have like the hook, what is that, the purple add on the putrid oak, where it like decreases the distance of the hooks between each other, and there's the other one that increases the distance, right? That's fine. But I would like for there to be some kind of offering that I can use with maps where it just increases the overall advantage of bringing the map, not just like adding a chest or two, because that's not always enough either, right? So like for example, if a map offering I brought as a killer increased the this or decreased the size of the map, right, and also increased the rate of a hook, like added one hook somewhere randomly, that'd be cool. Just like random effects that overall leans the offering in the killer's side. Because I'm not really a fan of them just making the maps naturally smaller across the board. I actually like when the maps are large, but I would still create some kind of scenario where you can give the survivors a disadvantage by bringing an offering instead of just bringing us to a map. Because I personally don't like it when I see that the killer brought us to like Dead Dog, and then I find that it's like a nurse or something. Because then you already like know what you're getting in for. So if there was a way to like counter that scenario where it is a nurse going to bring Dead Dog, but I can bring an offering that makes it lean in more in my favor, that would be cool. Because that way I can have a reason to actually use offerings. But I don't know. I feel like also with the Blood Web, once you reach Prestige 10 and go beyond, then like, and also you've done it for like a lot of different survivors or killers, there's no real reason to just be, you don't really care about anything when it comes to what you get in the Blood Web. You have to just give yourself a reason to spend the points. So it'd be cool if there are people who are either like Prestige 10 or 100 or something that you can, something with the Blood Web. The Blood Web could use something a little bit more that's just more than just getting add-ons and perks, because it's been like that for years on end, and I don't mind it. I just think that once you get everything you can get for all the survivors and the killers, there's like nothing to do but just spend your points. So, and then at that point the grind to Prestige 100 is another objective, but you get nothing for getting Prestige 100 besides the icon, right? So it'd be cool to like actually apply something with the low web. I don't know. personally for me, I'd like to be able to get the banner color changes again. They should really look into like bringing that back somehow, and at least like give us like a way to acquire it for like the newer characters, because I want to get it for like Ada, for example. It's impossible, and Ellen, you know. Lastly, we have perk updates, and then the killer updates for the twins. Ultimate weapon is an interesting perk. I feel like it's okay. It's annoyingly good, but it's also like not terrible. Um, I don't know how to counter it per se, but I feel like, if they open the locker, you just know that they're bringing the perk, and then if I scream, then oh, it's they're bringing weapon. But it's not a weak perk, but it's a strong perk for sure. I just don't know what they would do update wise. Maybe the rate at which it could be used is too high, because 30 seconds is pretty frequent, I would say. I don't hate it though. So we'll see. And decisive strike is, oh man, that's a perk that they've been nerfing to the ground and trying to figure out with everything that it boils down to. And personally, for me, I feel like they need to, similar to Grim Embrace, like Grim Embrace is a perk that exists where, if the killer plays fair, then they should just make that base kit, right? But if the killer's playing unfair, then Decisive Strike should just activate base kit. So it should be kind of like the counter play, because Decisive Strike is a really good anti-tunneling perk. Um, because the problem with DS right now is that if you do anything action wise, then you cancel the perk out. Also, if the gates get powered up, the perk also gets canceled as well. So using that perk is so niche and specific, and it's kind of hard to actually use that perk. Um, you have to use it in the luck factor that the killer is tunneling people like deliberately. Before you used to bring the perk because it was really helpful and kind of gave you like a third opportunity for everything, kind of like how Dead Hard was. But at least with this perk now, it's like it's hard to use this perk. So if they incorporated it base kit wise, it would be much better. I hope that they do that, because DS it kind of needs to make a return, like low key, with how the game's playing now, 100%. And then lastly, you got the twins. Killer update for the twins. I don't really know what they'll do. Um, I think the biggest problem with the twins right now is that when you bring out Victor and then you catch someone with Victor, there's nothing for the server to do with Victor, but there's also like nothing that you can do as a result either. It'd be cool to basically give Victor a little bit more power, where if Victor's on the shoulder of the survivor for like 30 seconds or something like that, then they just automatically get downed, right? It kind of gives them a reason to eventually get rid of him, or he'll like go away, some one of the two. Just I feel like the way how the game works with the twins, gameplay is really bizarre, because you don't it's not like the night where you have two killers, even though technically speaking the twins is two killers. So it's kind of like it's just weird that like the knight is one killer that can summon a bunch of little like guards, but it's not a second killer, whereas twins has literally two killers. And you know the way how they work gameplay wise isn't like two killers. I don't know. It's weird to me. So whatever they incorporate with the twins, I hope that they get a buff that allows the player base to want to find more interest in playing twins, because I don't see twins often enough. But when I do see twins, it's usually a person who's randomly testing twins or got it in like a roulette. I don't often see like a good twins. So we'll see. But there's a roadmap. Honestly, a lot of this is really interesting. I'm looking forward to learning more about all of these things. The problem with this is that it's all very vague information, so it's kind of hard to figure out. The only thing you can really understand in its entirety is the FOV slider thing. That makes sense. They're just basically reworking Shadowborn, and they're removing the FOV slider from monitor and abuse, and they're adding a slider. Everything else is kind of a big question mark. None of it's actually like clear as to what they're doing. So we'll see more as we kind of go into the next upcoming months to come. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you think, and take care.